When the starship Horizon's logic pierced the lavender clouds of Axtora Prime, its human passengers were struck silent by the spectacle below. The alien planet glittered with crystalline towers, spiraling walkways, floating platforms, and iridescent energy streams that pulsed like living veins through the cityscape. Axtora Prime was ancient, proud, and dazzling, yet the reason for the humans' arrival was paradoxical and almost humorous even to themselves. Human architects, who had spent centuries refining urban planning, sustainability, and technological accessibility, had been invited across galaxies to help redesign alien cities for greater efficiency. Many joked that it was the equivalent of ants teaching birds how to fly straighter, yet the invitation from the Axtorian High Council had been genuine, urgent, and tinged with desperation. For decades, the Axtorians had built upward and outward in a frenzy of beauty and aspiration, their cities shaped according to artistic intuition rather than structural logic. Their infrastructure was astonishing but chaotic, energy systems tangled like cosmic vines, transportation routes curved into scenic loops that took hours longer than needed, and entire districts were built without direct access to basic resources. The city was beautiful, but on the verge of collapse, its elegance outweighing its practicality, and it was this delicate disaster that humans had been summoned to fix. At the front of the human delegation stood Dr. Kiera Morrow, a visionary architect whose designs blended advanced engineering with human warmth. Beside her walked Jin Reyes, a systems analyst who could reorder the logic of a city with nothing but a tablet and a cup of strong coffee substitute. Following them was a mixed team of urban planners, sociologists, engineers, and one poet, because Kiera insisted that any city redesign should preserve the soul of its culture. They descended into the grand hall of crystalline echoes, where the Axtorian High Council awaited, their tall frames shimmering with bioluminescent hues that shifted with emotion. The eldest among them, Councillor Vaelthea, stepped forward and bowed deeply, an unusual gesture among Axtorians and therefore a sign of profound respect. "Humans," Vaelthea said, his melodic voice vibrating in the air like a song, "we request your aid to save our cities and preserve our future." The hall fell silent, the weight of responsibility settling on the humans like cosmic dust. This was no ordinary project, but a historic collaboration between species, one that would test the limits of creativity, diplomacy, and the fragile balance between beauty and function. And so, the day the human architects arrived on Axtora Prime marked the beginning of a transformation, unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The following morning, the humans began their grand survey of Vethrune, the capital city and the heart of Axtorian civilization. From the moment they stepped into the streets, they realized the magnitude of the challenge before them. Walkways looped back onto themselves like tangled ribbons, creating scenic but baffling paths that required hours of travel to reach destinations that were mere minutes away as the sky beasts flew. Residential towers had open-air platforms that looked stunning but left inhabitants exposed to unpredictable cosmic winds that swept across the planet. Some buildings floated on anti-gravity fields that fluctuated depending on planetary tides, occasionally drifting several meters off alignment, to the frustration of those trying to dock their transport skiffs. Kiera examined a cluster of structures shaped like spiraling seashells, radiant with color but lacking any logical interior layout. Bedrooms were positioned far from sanitation chambers, kitchens placed next to ventilation shafts that scattered aromas into nearby districts, and emergency exits opened directly into Medea without safety platforms. But amid the overwhelming complexity, the humans could also see the astonishing creativity of the Axtorian people. Their buildings were alive with symbolism, their energy conduits disguised as luminous vines, their markets organized in swirling clusters that encouraged social bonding and storytelling. There was beauty everywhere, but it was beauty layered over chaos, like a masterpiece painted on a crumbling canvas. Jin Reyes, tapping rapidly on his hollow tablet, muttered that the energy distribution map resembled a plate of spilled galactic noodles, which made three Axtorian guides blink in confusion. They had no noodles on Axtora Prime, but they understood the metaphor. The guides confessed that energy surges, outages, and inefficiencies had become so common that entire districts powered down for hours at a time, disrupting commerce and daily life. The more the humans observed, the more the contradictions revealed themselves. Axtora had invented astonishing technology, but had arranged it with whimsical unpredictability. Their passion for artistry overshadowed the need for organization, a cultural trait that had served them well for centuries but was now causing system-wide strain. By the end of the day, Kiera gathered her team for an emergency planning session. She projected a holographic map of the city, its glowing lines twisting and looping like an abstract sculpture. "Here's the truth," she began. "The Axtorians don't need us to change who they are. They need us to make their art sustainable, their beauty functional, and their innovations stable." The team nodded, knowing they were about to design solutions that were not only technical but deeply cultural. It was at that moment they realized the scope of what they had to accomplish. They weren't just redesigning a city, they were redesigning a civilization's relationship with its own creativity. The next phase of the project began with careful diplomacy, for the Axtorians were proud of their artistry and wary of losing their identity. Kiera insisted that every redesign would honor the essence of Axtorian aesthetics, while improving efficiency, safety, and sustainability. The Axtorian High Council agreed, though not without spirited debate, especially from artists who feared that linear pathways or structured grids would destroy the soul of their culture. Thus, the redesign became a dance of compromise, innovation, and cultural exchange. The humans proposed flow channels, elegant transit lines that used curves instead of straight paths to maintain the Axtorian love for organic shapes while drastically reducing travel time. These channels would guide pedestrians and hover skiffs through optimized routes that still felt visually fluid and emotionally expressive. In residential districts, Kiera introduced modular interior layouts that preserved the shell-like external forms of the buildings but reorganized internal spaces for practical living. The changes were subtle, respectful, and above all, effective. Axtorian families, who once spent hours navigating their own homes, now moved effortlessly through thoughtfully aligned rooms, and they expressed gratitude through glowing patterns on their skin, a natural Axtorian response. Jin tackled the energy grid, designing a layered distribution network that ensured stable power across floating platforms, crystalline towers, and subterranean caverns. His system utilized backup microreactors disguised as decorative structures, blending utility with beauty in a way the Axtorians deeply appreciated. Meanwhile, the poet on the human team collaborated with Axtorian storytellers to design public spaces that honored ancient myths while incorporating modern urban needs. Plazas were rebuilt with symbolic carvings that doubled as solar collectors, sculptures that served as high-efficiency ventilation systems, and amphitheaters shaped to enhance natural acoustics without overtaxing energy circuits. As construction began across the city, skepticism slowly transformed into excitement. Axtorian architects began partnering with human engineers, sharing sketches, mathematical models, and expressive art pieces that symbolized their hopes for the future. Every improvement revealed new potential, and soon the city hummed with collaborative creativity. For the first time in centuries, Vethrun felt balanced, alive, and growing into something stronger than before. Efficiency was only half the mission. The greater challenge was getting an entire civilization toward a new mindset, one that valued harmony between beauty and practicality. To accomplish this, the humans introduced a series of cultural dialogues, workshops, and collaborative design festivals. The Axtorians embraced these gatherings with enthusiasm, eager to fuse their traditions with new possibilities. Axtorian schools added lessons about structural planning and energy conservation, taught through interactive art rather than dry lectures. Children sculpted models of efficient buildings using luminescent clay that responded to motion, learning the principles of balance and flow through tactile experience. Artists created murals that depicted the harmony between human logic and Axtorian imagination, and these murals became beloved landmarks across Vethrune. In turn, humans adopted Axtorian customs as well. Kiera learned the art of color speech, a method of emotional communication through shifting hues on wearable fabrics. Jin developed a fascination with the Axtorian memory stones, crystalline objects that recorded sensory impressions, which he incorporated into user interface designs for citywide energy monitoring. As both species learned from one another, barriers dissolved, replaced with mutual respect, admiration, and shared purpose. The redesign of the city was no longer a human project, but a joint endeavor, a symbol of unity in diversity. And though the process was not without disagreements, each challenge strengthened the partnership. By blending human structure with alien creativity, Vethrune evolved beyond anything either species could have built alone. When the final phase of construction concluded, the citizens of Axtora Prime gathered in the newly revitalized Central Plaza for the grand unveiling. The city glowed with renewed energy. Every tower, platform, and walkway harmonized in a symphony of design, purpose, and beauty. Flow channels glimmered like rivers of light, guiding movement effortlessly through the city. Energy networks pulsed in steady rhythm, supported by hidden reactors disguised as living sculptures that shimmered with cosmic brilliance. Public spaces buzzed with activity, filled with laughter, stories, performances, and moments of quiet reflection. The city had become a living testament to what collaboration could accomplish. Councillor Vailthea addressed the crowd, his bioluminescence radiating with gratitude. Today we celebrate not only a renewed city, but a renewed future, one forged through friendship, curiosity, and the sharing of knowledge, he announced. He turned toward Kiera and the human team, bowing deeply once more. Your people have not changed who we are, but have helped us become who we must be. Kiera felt a warmth rise in her chest, knowing that their mission had succeeded not because they had imposed human ways, but because they had listened, adapted, and honored the spirit of Axtorian culture. As the celebration continued, humans and Axtorians alike danced beneath the shimmering sky, their movements reflected in the crystalline structures around them. On that day, Vethrune stood as the first city in the galaxy, redesigned through interspecies harmony. A city where art met logic, where beauty met function, and where two civilizations walked forward together into a brighter future. And so it became known throughout the stars as the day human architects redesigned alien cities for efficiency. A day that echoed with hope long after the celebrations faded.